We gotta see the money, okay? If you're not making money, you're not running a business. Like, it is a hobby, right? Starting a skincare brand sounds very glamorous. However, the reality is quite different. A little context, 4 years ago, I left my job as a doctor to start a skincare brand, and now I have 90 days to launch it. And it has been a long and difficult journey. And if I knew some of these things beforehand, maybe I would have done some things differently and made a few other decisions. So grab yourself a little coffee, a little tea. We're gonna chit chat a little bit so that you don't make some of these mistakes that I have made, and so that you know what you're getting into if this is something you wanna do. Number one is that finding a manufacturer is a nightmare, especially if you're looking at international manufacturers. So I'm from the Caribbean. I now live in London, but my manufacturers are in South Korea. And from the get-go, I wanted to work with South Korean manufacturers and chemists because they're just light years ahead when it comes to innovation in the skincare industry. However, I did not know that it wasn't just a quick Google search, you know what I'm saying? And even if you get a quick little Google search, there are so many hoops to jump through in terms of you have to send emails. And a lot of times these manufacturing partners, they don't have good communication skills from what I have noticed. I cannot tell you how many manufacturers I have reached out to and got a response 2 weeks later, maybe no response at all. Like, it's just a very slow and tedious process, especially if you're dealing with international partners, because, you know, language barriers as well. And it's definitely easier when you have boots on the ground and you can go and physically show up and talk to them, visit them, and get things moving a lot faster. But you do not want to rush this step, because your manufacturing partner can make or break this entire journey for you. I do have a bit of a manufacturer horror story. I'll probably make another video about that. But long story short, they wouldn't get the formula right. I was getting charged for a lot of things that really and truly I shouldn't have to pay for. And looking back now, it was because I was working with a third party, kind of like a middleman, that was attaching me to the manufacturer. So like an agency. So everything was ran through the agency and then to the manufacturer. Do not do that, because then you have the risk of misinterpreting the information. It's like, you know, what's the game called again? Chinese telephone, where by the time it gets to the end of the communication line, something different was said. It is better for you to have a direct contact with somebody in the manufacturing facility or the manufacturing partner that you are going to work with. Do not work with an agency. If somebody comes and say, oh yeah, we can help you with branding, getting your thing, we connect you with a manufacturer, whatever, run. Don't do that. Not necessarily because it's a scam or whatever. I'm not saying it's a scam, but you're going to save yourself so much headaches if you would just go with the manufacturer directly. Trust me, working with my now manufacturers, I haven't spent a penny with them. Like, all the samples that were sent to me, completely free. All the communications that we've had, I wasn't billed for it. All of the advice, whatever, wasn't billed, right? Because they're actually the manufacturers. The only time I spent money with them is to pay the 50% so that they can actually start the production of the products. So if your manufacturing contract, if your manufacturing partner is telling you, oh yeah, you need to pay for this beforehand, you need to do all of these things, chances are that you're not really going to have a good partnership with them, you know? And also, communication is really important for your manufacturer partner. If you realize that every time you say something, it is misinterpreted, they don't really understand, like your message isn't getting across, you're not going to enjoy that partnership. Because remember that these are the people who are making your products, and your products is what's going to drive your business. So if you don't have a good manufacturing partnership from the get-go, oh my goodness, it is going to be so stressful for you. So take your time. Even if it takes you 3, 4, 6 months to find a good manufacturer, if you get a good manufacturer, you are set. Definitely leverage your contacts. If you know somebody who has started a skincare brand, whatever, maybe they can guide you. If somebody comes to me and asks me who I'm manufactured with, I'm not gonna give that person that information freely. So you definitely have to be sensitive with that. But leverage your network, leverage your connections, and just make some phone calls, send some emails, get on a call with them, and have specific questions that you need to ask these manufacturers. This is a whole other video. So if you guys wanna know about that, just let me know and I'll make a separate video on that. The second thing is that, girl, it is expensive to launch a skincare brand, okay? Gone are the days where you can get on the phone with the manufacturer and say, hey, just give me 200 units, 300 units, let me see how it goes, and then we're gonna come back for the 5,000, whatever. No, no, no. These manufacturers, they want you to have an MOQ, minimum order quantity, of 5,000, 10,000, sometimes even 20,000. I remember going to one of these big manufacturers and they were like, it's 25,000 MOQ. That's expensive because you have to pay all of that up front unless you're doing like a pre-launch or a pre-order. And even if you're doing a pre-order, chances are it's only going to be like 2 weeks out. Nobody is going to pre-order something 6 months out. You know what I'm saying? So like you have to know that to start a skincare brand in 2026, you're probably going to need at least 25 to 30,000 just for your products. I'm not talking about logistics like shipping out your products. I'm not talking about secondary packaging. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not even talking about registering your trademarks, anything like that. So if you have that going in, you can know, okay, let me set aside X amount of money or start raising some money from friends and family or whatever, because traditional investors, they're not going to give you any money. So now, especially nowadays with the cost of living super high, tariffs, if you have international manufacturers, like local logistics, shipping, it is a lot of money. It is not cheap. It's not like a tech brand where you can just create an MVP and launch it tomorrow and have people pay for the subscription and it costs you nothing to launch. Launching a consumer brand is expensive. So you have to be very mindful of where you're spending money, who you're spending money with, and at what stages you're spending money. And this is a mistake that I made with my last manufacturer / agencies. Like I was spending money for content strategy when I didn't even need to do content strategy in that moment. I did because I thought we were gonna launch the brand, but then the manufacturer partnership ended. But for example, spending money like $10,000 plus on a content strategy, excessive, crazy. And some agencies do prey on startups, especially solo founders or first-time founders, because they're like, oh, we'll hold your hand through this process. You don't know what you're doing. This is what you actually need. Pay us 10K, pay us 5K for this, and we'll take care of everything for you. When really and truly, you can do that with AI, you can do that with your mind, you can do that by talking to people online. So definitely be careful where you're spending your money and how quickly you're spending money. Right now, girl, you cannot get a penny out of me. Like, I really have to need you for me to spend money on you like that. Nobody in this life does anything out of the goodness of their hearts. Only a few people, right? So definitely make sure you have things in writing before you agree to taking on people's services. The third thing that I wish somebody told me before is that ingredients are not really that expensive. So your basic niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, whatever, these things are not expensive, right? So a lot of times when you have expensive brands that are charging like 100, 200 for like 130 milliliter serum for like dark spot, chances are that you're paying for the marketing, you're paying for the packaging, and you're probably paying for branding of positioning of that brand. But working with different manufacturers, seeing how much ingredients cost, I'm just like, okay, it's not the cost of the ingredient that is going to really drive up the cost of the product. It is the overall cost that you have to pay for the MOQ. It's your shipping, it's your manpower, like all of these things, right? Now, there are a few ingredients that are more pricey than the regular ingredients. I remember meeting someone from a raw material factory or something like that, and they presented me with a product with an ingredient that helps with dark spots and all these things, like patented, and looks really good. And I saw the research, I saw the clinical trials, I saw the science behind it, and I was super excited to use it. But that ingredient was going to drive up the cost of the product. And because of my positioning of the brand, where I want the products to be accessible, I had to opt to not use that ingredient. Now, it wouldn't be like a $200 serum or anything like that, but there are cases where brands use more advanced ingredients, like patented, like things that they actually got in the lab and research. And those cases, honestly, they're kind of few. Like, a lot of brands are not spending that time on R&D to develop patented ingredients like that for skincare every single time. Chances are that for a dark spot serum or a moisturizer, the key ingredients are basic, okay? It's the way in which they're formulated, the percentages, what is added, what is not added. I think that makes a difference. So a lot of times you're paying for branding. So having that in mind, I now as a consumer can judge if I want to pay this amount for a moisturizer or a serum. Like I know that if I pay a little bit more, it's probably not because there's some revolutionary ingredient in it. I'm just paying for the positioning and the branding, and I'm okay with that. The fourth thing is that getting investment in the pre-seed or pre-launch stage is very difficult, next to impossible. A lot of investors in the consumer space, like a product space, will tell you that they want you to get traction first and to launch and all these things. Whole time, girl, you trying to get that money to actually launch. They don't care. I would definitely say save your coins and don't go to these investment events that the tickets are like $2,000, $3,000 to be in these rooms with these type of venture capitalist investors, because chances are they're not going to invest in you at that stage. Now, if you're going to build connections and for people to see your face and to know you, that's a different story. And if you have the money to do that, then definitely do that. But if you're going with the intention of getting an investment in a pre-seed stage and you don't have a large budget for your brand, I would say save those extra $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and put it inside your business, put it into development, put it into marketing, put it into something that will actually cause you to launch faster and to get customers so that investors can see, okay, there's something here. Because fundraising takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. If I had spent more of that time and energy, like just, I don't know, like in the business versus trying to get investment for the business, we probably would have been further along. And the thing about these events, girl, is that the tickets are excessively expensive. They're like $3,000 for some of these tickets. I would say that if you decide to invest in yourself and in your business in that way, see it as that. Do not see that you're going there to leave with a $2 million check, right? Go talk to as many people as you can and then take people's LinkedIn and then use that and start posting on LinkedIn, post updates of your business so that they could see you, right? And then go actually work on the business. Don't spend any more money. Now, these events are really good. I have gotten industry insights when I attend these events and I really love the people there and all of those things. When you're started out and resources are limited, you have to be strategic with your networking. People will tell you, go up, show up everywhere, but then the tickets are like $3,000. In this economy, no. Last year was the last one of those events I went to, and I told myself I'm not going to anymore unless I'm invited or unless the tickets are like a couple $100, $200, $300 the most, I'll go. But right now my main focus is Derm Intellect. Every resource, every time, every energy, it is in Derm Intellect. I wish I had done that before. The fifth thing I wish I knew before is that formulation takes time, but it should not take forever. And just because you spend 3 years working on your formula doesn't mean that it is the best formula in the world unless you were developing like a patented ingredient or something like that. If you spent 3 years working on one formula with the same manufacturer, it just means that they don't know what the hell they're doing. Or better yet, you don't know what you're doing. If you're developing a formula, it shouldn't take you anywhere more, in my humble opinion, more than 9 to 12 months for the whole formulation development testing process, right? Sometimes 18 months if it's something a little bit more complicated like a sunscreen, or 24 months if it's like a sunscreen. That takes time. However, a basic moisturizer, a serum, girl, it should not be taking you 3 years with the same manufacturer. You're wasting time and you're wasting money. Once I found my now manufacturer, from presenting them with what I wanted to them actually getting in the lab and giving me a first round of samples was probably a month. Once we got the first round, we did a second round of samples, and then confirmation of all of that took around 2.5 months, if that much. But from the process of developing the formula to doing our testing, stability testing, microbiology testing, quality control testing was 6-7 months thereabout, right? And when we did our final testing for quality control, which is basically they test the formula in the packaging that you are putting it in at different pressures, and I think also at temperatures. I'm not sure if temperatures, but definitely different pressures to see if there's cracks, leaking, and all these things. We failed it. Derm Intellect failed the first one. So we had to change our packaging so that nothing would be leaking and all these things. So that caused the entire process to be lengthened by an additional 6 weeks, I think it was. But after that, we were smooth sailing. This process can also take a little bit longer if you're doing clinical trial testing. That's at least a 12-week for the clinical trials. My brand has taken me time because I switched manufacturers twice. My business partner quit. I stopped working on the business for a little while. So that's why it took that long. But you don't get a badge of honor if your moisturizer that has no groundbreaking ingredient took you 3 years to formulate with the same cosmetic chemist. Number 6 is that the business side is actually a lot more difficult than the product development side. I'm very I want things a specific way, and being a doctor as well, I have to make sure that it's up to a certain standard. So I really love the product development. I really love the science of all of it. But that was a piece of cake compared to the side of the marketing, the content, the logistics. Like the business side is very complicated, especially if you're doing this by yourself, and especially if you're doing it for the first time. It is definitely an accelerated PhD or something, right? Because you're learning something new every single day, and you have to be open to learning consistently, knowing that you are a student of life. The strategies and the back end and setting up systems, those things are a lot more complicated, and I'm definitely going through all of that right now as I prepare for this launch, and knowing that I'm going to need to hire for those things once the business takes off, like hire somebody for marketing and get my finances set up right. Because for me, I think the main part of the business, especially when you're post-launch, like you're young, definitely you need to know where your money is. You need to know if you're actually making money, if you are spending money where you're not supposed to be spending money, and you need people to know about the brand. So for me, my focus as I'm launching this brand, and I know that I will not have a big team, it's definitely going to be marketing and sales/financing, and obviously customers, like making sure that those are the things. But I'm not going to be worried about how many countries I can get into in the next 12 months. I'm not going to be worried about coming up with 50 new products because we got to stay on top of every trend. I really want to master just the basics first and then get to the next level. You could have developed the best product in the lab, but until people know that it's the best product, you don't have a business. And if your customers are having a horrible experience with you, then you're going to fail, right? So I'm really focused on just being a customer-focused brand, focusing on our market and making sure that we are tracking our finances, that we are staying on top of the money. Girl, we gotta see the money. Okay? A lot of us, especially as women, and I saw Emma Grede say this, is that we talk about the soft parts of running a business. Like, yeah, we want to make an impact in the community and all these things, and we forget about the money. Girl, if you're not making money, you're not running a business. Like, it is a hobby, right? And I'm here to run a business. I want to be a serial entrepreneur, so I really have to get good with the financial aspect of things and making sure that all of that is set. So definitely educating yourself about finances way before you even launch is important. You may not know everything about taxes, about whatever, because girl, I'm still learning about that. Like, it's very difficult, very boring to me, but you don't want somebody to come in and pull the wool over your eyes. That's how people get robbed in their business under their own nose because they don't know what the heck is going on. And the last thing I wish I knew before is that it is emotionally difficult. It takes a lot. It takes a special type of person to get up every day and chase a dream so long with nothing guaranteed at the end. At least if you're a doctor, you know that at the end, you're gonna get a degree, you're gonna be a doctor. If you go into residency, you know that at the end of the 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years sometimes, you're going to be a dermatologist. Entrepreneurship, nothing is guaranteed at the end. You just start. And whatever comes at you, all the blessings, all of the hardships every single day, you just have to take them as they come. This road is not for anybody who loves certainty in life, who loves to know what's going to happen today, the next second. First of all, that's not faith. So if you're a Christian, you shouldn't even operate like that, point blank, period. But if you're somebody who needs to know that at the end of the month, you're going to receive a $5,000 check, entrepreneurship is not for you, because it's not like that. I already have that personality trait, but it has been emotionally difficult to pursue a dream for so long, especially in the public's eyes, like building in public. Sometimes you feel like, oh, people must be saying that she's ridiculous, you know, she left her job to go do this. She is wasting time. It hasn't happened for her yet. Like sometimes when you're on this journey, your story starts to become embarrassing to you. But I seriously believe that you have to put in those works of embarrassment, of cringe, right? To be that overnight success that people talk about. The exciting part about entrepreneurship that really stimulates me is that it has the potential to have exponential growth, even if it took you 6 years to build. That business that took you 6 years to build the foundation of can literally in the next 3 years sell for $1 billion. We have seen it happen. Poppy, I think it was last year, sold for $1.9 billion, right? Fenty, Rode, all of these businesses, Natorium, right? And some of these businesses were built by people who weren't celebrities, weren't superstars. So it is possible. So that is what motivates me in terms of like why I keep going, because I know that with God, all things are possible. And Isaiah 60 verse 22 says that those of you who were, what it says, like one will be 1,000. I, the Lord, will make this happen quickly. I know that the work that I have put in has the potential to just 10x overnight. Like sometimes it's a small deposits, right? But that can take a toll on you emotionally when you're going and it feels like emails aren't being responded, nobody's seeing you, you're posting videos into the abyss, right? It can really feel like, damn, am I actually going to do this? Let me just stop. But do not stop. And I'm saying this to myself right now. We are almost there. A shift is happening in society. And those of us who have spent the last 3, 4, 5 years building, we are about to see the fruits of our labor, and things are not going to take 10, 15, 20 years to flourish like they did back in the day, where it's like, oh, you took 20 years to become a millionaire. It's literally happening for people in no time. And if you're a child of God, I believe that He is definitely unleashing unusual power in this season to anoint the ones, to accelerate His people, right? That's kind of like what my book Unleash Your Power is about as well, where it's like, listen, this is a season where if you've been building, keep on building, because it is about to grow and there's about to be accelerated growth. Just like the bamboo plant, where it stays underground, I think it's for like what, 3-5 years thereabout. But once it starts to sprout, it grows like 3 inches per day or something like that. Accelerated growth. That is the potential of entrepreneurship, and that is something I always keep in the back of my mind. So it doesn't matter if it has taken me 3, 4, 5 years to set the foundation. I'm okay with that, because the potential of accelerated growth is there. So that's why I keep building. And I know that I'm going to build a business that has social impact, because that is something I care deeply about. I don't just care about flying in business class and taking trips and Gucci, Chanel, all those things. God has really refined my why in the last couple years, where it's like, listen, there are people out there dying, they're hungry, they're cold. We need more good, wealthy people in the world so that they can see the needs of others and help. My dad always prays a prayer over me. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps right now. He's like, may you never turn a blind eye to a genuine need. And I do believe that I'm going to be that person who is able, through my business, to make social impact and global impact, right? Just like when Joseph was, anointed, and, God gave him dreams and visions of who he was supposed to be, but he spent so many years in the pit. He needed to go into the pit to get into Pharaoh's presence so that he could liberate not just his little community, but so that he can liberate an entire country and neighboring countries as well. Sometimes the impact that you're meant to have in this world requires you to go through a longer, more intensive training process, because you are meant to liberate nations. So keep going, because I believe that destinies are intertwined and somebody's destiny is waiting to be unlocked because of you. Let me know if you guys found this video helpful, if you're currently building something, or if you want to build a skincare brand. Drop any questions that you have for me down below if you want me to talk a little bit more about something specific, and I'll be happy to make that video for you guys. Make sure to follow me on all socials at Dr. Natasha Henry, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.